I want to introduce a real special person who has done a lot for this club, Tana Page. She's president of Educators First, so she has a full-time job, but on top of all that, she founded our Literacy and Education Committee, which led to the Patriot Readers. She also founded our Legislative and Advocacy Committee, which led to our internship programs and the very informational newsletter we send out every month. So Tana is going to introduce our keynote speaker today. Thank you, Tana.
Y'all excuse me for the way I sound, but I had oral surgery last week. And I'm going to tell you, my mama would die because I can't even say the word casserole. And she would die. It's Thanksgiving. I can't even say the word. So I also can't say the word for Democrats. I can't pronounce S. So we're in big trouble. All right, here we go. All right, so several weeks ago, I went to Washington. It was great. Had a great time. And I visited with somebody we all know. Several of you, more than several of you, have asked me about it. She's a real patriot. I'm proud to be her friend. And I'm proud to bring you an update on what she's doing. It leads to our speaker today. They are friends, and she helped bring him here today. And I'm talking about Joanne DeBartolo, who is really making strides in Washington, and I know because I was there. I was trying to keep up with her, as a matter of fact. She's a former state committee woman, and she is, as I said, a true patriot. She went up there. She was an appointee from the president, and he told her when she went up there that she would be, and this is a real challenge, and she knew it, that she would be helping close out U.S. aid. Now, we all know U.S. aid is riddled with abuse. It's in fraud, and she knew it. It was more challenging, I think, than even she knew or we knew. It was really challenging. Well, she did. She worked on that until they got to the final steps, and they had to call in the financial people to do the final closeout. So that's good news. Well, at that point, she was promoted to the State Department under Marco Rubio's guidance, and her specific job now is with the Organization of American States. She's a senior advisor to the ambassador there, and there's 33 countries in that. See, I learned. I didn't know this either. 33 countries from Canada all the way through South America, Central America, and she plans the events for all those countries and meets with all those ambassadors. I was fortunate enough to be with her while she met some of them. It's a challenge. You have to know the protocol, and you have to learn to keep your mouth shut when you want to say things, and so it was very enlightening. Well, that leads me to the fact that she knows our very honorable speaker today, Blaise Ingoglia, who I met when he was a state rep, and he was pushing bills to dissolve the teacher unions. Oh, I was so happy. Woo! Yes. That's how I met him. And, of course, I didn't let that die. I followed that all the way. So he was in the Florida House, and he served as chair of the Florida Republican Party. Some of you may remember that. He is still today called a conservative pit bull, which I love. I think that suits him, and never backs down from the left. He is a proponent for lower insurance rates and to take on the left at every point. I give you today Blaise Ingoglia, the CFO of Florida. Let's welcome him.
Good afternoon. How are you guys doing? I know we can do better. Good afternoon. How are my favorite Republicans doing? That is much better. So now, before we start, just a couple of house cleaning things. I know you guys were out here earlier and you were out mingling. I was up in the room, and I don't know if you saw the breaking news. Fox News was carrying it. CNN was carrying it. MSNBC. Did you guys get to see that? All right. So I'm going to break some news here today. If I can have everyone's attention, I just want to make sure everyone knows what's going on. So hold on. Let me pull this up. Okay. Breaking news. The Supreme Court has just ruled that we are no longer allowed to have a nativity scene nor a Christmas tree in our nation's capital. Now, it also says it's not for any political reasons. They just couldn't find 3 wise men in D.C. Now, a search for a virgin continues. But they did, however, find more than enough asses to fill that stable. Before we start, I'm going to ask you guys to do something for me. Can you guys take out your cell phones, please? I want to make sure that we and our campaign stays in touch with you guys. So I'm going to ask you to text a number to a number. This way we can keep you updated, and then I can bombard you for the next 12 months for money. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. If you guys can, the number that I want you to text it to is 9809. 9809. And then just text my name, Blaise, Blaise, to that number. So text Blaise to 9809. All right, you guys got it? Thank you so much. So I'm going to give a little bit of speech here today, and then I'm going to do some Q&A at the end. More than happy to stay as long as you guys want, answer as many questions as you want. My name is Blaise Ingoglia. I am honored to be the CFO of you for the great state of Florida, and I am unapologetically conservative. Just so everyone knows, I speak 4 languages: English, profanity, sarcasm, and real stuff. I'm politically incorrect. I say Merry Christmas and God bless America. I own guns. I eat meat, and I really love bacon. I stand when I hear the national anthem, and I thank our troops and our first responders every chance I get. And if that offends anyone, I don't care. Growing up, my mama said I could be anything I wanted, so I decided to be a problem for Democrats and some Republicans. I am not afraid to take on the establishment or the status quo. And for the record, I am a very big fan of DEI. And by that, I mean deport every illegal. I'm actually past the point of deporting illegals. I want to deport Gavin Newsom and AOC also. How about you guys? Now, this speech is going to be a little bit different, probably not what you were expecting. This is not going to be a speech about how great Florida is compared to California, because we already know that. This speech is how we destroy the left, the leftist agenda, and the Democrats at the same time. Now, I was chairman of the Republican Party of Florida for 4 years. Some of my favorite times in politics were helping Donald Trump get elected the first time in 2016 and Ron DeSantis get elected in 2018. Now, back then, I realized that I could not do it alone. I needed you guys, the grassroots heart and soul of the Republican Party, in order to get it done. And I will tell you, and I will thank you, it is the Republican Federated women who always deliver the victories for Republicans. Now, we have some very big elections up here coming up in 2026. Donald Trump cannot continue doing what he does without majorities in both the House and the Senate. 2026 is going to be vitally important, and we need the grassroots, we need the troops ready in order to deliver big wins up and down the ballot. So to get everyone ready for the 2026 elections, to get ready to protect this party, this state, this nation, and continue to win, we're going to do something a little bit different here. Do you guys remember David Letterman, his top 10 rules? Remember, he used to work backwards 10 all the way to 1. Well, I've devised my top 10 rules for Republican success. We're going to work backwards from 10 all the way down to 1. Are you guys ready? I said, are you guys ready? Yes. So if you care deeply about the future of this state and this nation, I think you will find these rules to be useful, insightful, and hopefully a little bit motivating. Let's start it off. Rule number 10, stand up for our veterans and our first responders every chance you get. Because we know that real heroes don't have their name on the back of a jersey. They have an American flag on their uniform or a badge over their heart. Respect those who protect us. And I am so thankful that now, with Donald Trump back in the White House, that the days of disrespecting our flag are over. And for veterans, no veteran in this country should ever go without food, housing, healthcare, work, or most importantly, our deep, profound respect. Go out of your way to thank them for our freedom and our protection. Trust me, people will notice. Rule number 9, stop with the politically correct BS. Be real with people. Be real with people. People can tell the difference between consultant-ridden talking points and when someone is authentic. That's why we are drawn to people like Donald Trump. We're drawn to people like Ron DeSantis. Heck, that's even why we like John Fetterman. Do you remember just how bad cancel culture and political correctness were just a couple of years ago? It was horrible. You couldn't say illegal immigrants anymore. You had to say newcomers. You couldn't say global warming anymore. You had to say climate change. You couldn't say fat anymore. You had to say high-calorie humans. You couldn't even say mentally incompetent anymore. You had to say Democrats. What are you looking around for? There are no Democrats here. You actually have to pay money to be here today. Sound different, be real with people, give it to them straight. Rule number 8, go unapologetically on offense. Democrats in the state of Florida have one foot in the grave. Our job as Republicans, as conservatives, is to put the final nail in the coffin of the party of pronouns, high taxes, porn in schools, and boys playing in girls' sports. And while we are on this subject, men are men, women are women, and leftist Democrats are freaking idiots. Now, the good news is that leftist ideology is built on a foundation of crap, and it is buckling under the weight of its own ridiculousness. The bad news is that we, as Republicans, we need to do a better job taking the fight to the left, taking the fight to the Democrats, taking the fight to the liberal media. But here is the unapologetic, no-nonsense, non-politically correct truth. The road to ruin for this country won't be paved by Democrats. It will be paved by Republicans that don't stand up and fight. We need more fighters in our party. Rule number 7, protect the taxpayer. There is no such thing as government's money. It is our money. Stop listening to the bureaucrats and start listening to your own gut instincts. If it sounded like a bad idea while you were running for office, rest assured it is still a bad idea after you got elected. Be a friend to the taxpayer, not an apologist for big government. And let's prove that we are on the side of the taxpayers in 2026 by offering them real property tax relief next year. In fact, let's try to get rid of property taxes on homesteaded properties altogether. Rule number 6. Never, ever apologize for saying God bless America. Don't be afraid to wear your faith on your sleeve and encourage others to do so as well. We are one nation under God, founded as a Christian nation. We need to reclaim that. We need to advocate for prayer in schools again. We need to stand up for the state of Israel, and we need to reject anti-Semitism. This country would be much better off when we have more prayer and less pro-Hamas demonstrations on our campuses. Rule number 5, my personal favorite, don't New York or Florida. Many of us moved here to escape the high tax, high regulatory states because we found freedom and opportunity in the great state of Florida. Let's not change this state into something that we escaped from. If you want to move to Florida, that's fine. Leave your leftist ideology at the border. We need to stop running ads in New York inviting anyone and everyone to move to the great state of Florida. We do not need to import our ideological opposition. That is a surefire way to go from a red state to a purple state, back to a blue state. Democrats are losing their votes, losing their credibility, and they're absolutely losing their minds. Now, unfortunately, Democrats know that there is only one way to win here in the state of Florida, and that is to switch their party, hide their true intentions, and run for office as Republicans. We have had enough problems with Republicans acting like Democrats. We don't need Republicans who actually are Democrats. Just because they have an R next to their name does not necessarily believe what we believe. Be careful who you trust because salt and sugar look the same. Rule number 4, be an optimist. Just don't complain about what's not getting done. Start talking about what can get done. Because when you focus on the problems, you will find more problems. But when you focus on the possibilities, you will be presented with more opportunities. Too many people in this country think that the glass is half empty, or half full. They are completely missing the point. This is the United States of America. Those glasses are refillable. Can I get an amen? Rule number 3, protect Florida's Constitution at all costs. Never, ever underestimate the abilities to lie, cheat. All of the above. The left and progressives know that they can't win in Florida at the ballot box anymore. So now they are trying to buy our Constitution in an effort to turn this state into California. Massive voter fraud, hundreds of millions of dollars spent, vague language, enticing titles, foreign money. Last year's amendments that were on the ballot, amendments 3 and 4, should be a wake-up call for every God-fearing Republican in this room this evening. Think about this. Let it sink in. If both of those amendments would have passed as they were written, on your way here today, you may have passed a late-term abortion clinic while waving pot smoke out of your face. That would have been the reality. They are not going to let up. The left is not going to get up. Neither should we. Guard Florida's Constitution. Rule number 2, be true to yourself. I have personally seen way too many people get elected to office and change. They start off with good intentions, but then they quickly become part of the problem. In short, they campaign one way to get elected, and then they govern the complete opposite way when they get there. I'm sorry to say it, but politicians are always for sale, and people are lining up to make the purchase. They sell their souls for what? A campaign check? The thing that never ceases to amaze me about politicians isn't that they sell their souls. It's how little they get in return. Govern the way you campaign. Do what you say you are going to do. Be principled, be persuasive, be unafraid. Stand up for what you believe in, even if it means standing alone. You guys all ready for the final rule? Rule number 1? I said, you guys ready for the rule number 1? I got you guys trained. Rule number 1, don't ever be number 2. In order to succeed, you must work your butt off. Second place isn't good enough. Remember, the world is changed by your example, not your opinion. You're not defeating the left and our ideological opponents or changing minds sitting on the couch, posting on social media. You guys know this as the women. We all need to get up off of the couch and start doing. They say when opportunity knocks, you must be ready. Opportunity doesn't knock, you knock. And if opportunity doesn't answer, break the damn door down. Good things don't come to those who wait in politics. Good things come to those who are willing to go out, work hard, and earn it. Dream big, work hard, stay focused, and sell our message. So let us all today in Naples agree and resolve to choose God over government, to choose excellence over equity, and to choose conservatism over cronyism. Average is the enemy. Never give up. Never back down. Fight, fight, fight until you cannot fight anymore. Because Florida, she is worth fighting for. This state, the state of Florida, is unlike any other state in the nation. We'd like to keep her that way. I will stand here and I will thank you for everything that you have ever done getting good conservative Republicans elected. And I will stand here and I will thank you in advance for everything that you will do in the future for getting good conservative Republicans elected. May God bless you, may God bless your families, and may God bless the greatest republic this world has ever known, the United States of America. Naples Federated, thank you for having me. Thank you, guys.
Does anyone have any questions?
I have a little bit, I have a little bit of time to answer questions. I just want to let everybody know that I'm actually going to be leaving here in a little while. I don't travel much, but I am leaving here to actually go to my first communist country right from here. My flight for New York leaves in about an hour. Yes, ma'am.
Blaise, you're fantastic. My name's Kim Crockett. I'm from the demonic state of Minnesota. I am a refugee. I got to land in Florida because Hillsdale College hired me and asked me to come down.
Awesome.
So my question, I'm a little naive. What does the Florida State CFO do?
I will tell you what I'm doing is I'm messing up local governments and their local spending. That's what I'm doing. So the CFO, the state treasurer, I'm also the state fire marshal. We oversee a lot of insurance products. We oversee banking, finance, the treasury, we pay all the bills. But we also have massive audit authority. And I will tell you that I'm trying to redefine the role of the CFO here in the state of Florida. I hate wasteful spending. I hate wasteful spending if a Democrat does it or a Republican does it. No excuses. Taxpayer dollars are taxpayer dollars. I'm going to protect taxpayers. So I have, by redefining this role, I am sort of branding myself as a taxpayer advocate for the state. Property taxes are absolutely insane right now. And we are going around and we are auditing local governments and showing just how much excessive and wasteful spending that they are, that local governments are doing. In fact, so far out of 10 local jurisdictions, counties and cities that we have audited so far, we have found $1.5 billion with the B in wasteful spending in just this year alone. So when people say that you cannot cut property taxes, they are not being truthful with you because there is more waste, fraud, and abuse in the system that you could absolutely imagine. So what I want you to look as a CFO is a fiscal watchdog for the state of Florida, making sure that we do not turn this place into New York.
Blaise, thank you so much. And on that note, as a commissioner, I understand that we are so top-heavy with staff, top-heavy with salaries. How do we know what the average is? Or, it's been said we can't cut our way to prosperity, but I think we can.
I would say go look at what Argentina is doing right now. They are absolutely cutting their way to prosperity. Here's the deal. The way you become prosper in a nation, a state, a county, is by leaving more money in the hands of the taxpayers, not of government. The thought that they can appropriate more money and they can spend more money better than we, I know it's cliche, but that is absolutely true. Government can cut. Here's the deal. We are going through another property tax revolt right now. By a show of hands here, how many have seen your property taxes just gradually and steadily, sharply increase over the last 5 years? Everyone in the room, right? How many here, by a show of hands, have been here in the mid-2000s and saw the same exact thing happen, right? Mid-2000s, you had a rise in property values, rise in property taxes. Local governments took the money, expanded the government beyond anyone's wildest dreams, right? And then it got so bad that there was a property tax revolt that went on here in the state. Famously, then Speaker of the House Marco Rubio was fighting with then Democrat turned independent, turned Republican, turned independent, turned Democrat, MPA, Charlie Crist when he was governor, over tax reform. And we got an additional tax, we got an additional homestead exemption. And the government then was complaining that they couldn't cut, right, with that extra exemption. If those are people here, they were just like, no, you're going to call fire and your house is going to burn down. You're going to call 911 and a cop won't show up for 3 hours later. You're going to die. All that stuff, all the scare tactics. They were able to cut with that extra homestead exemption. But not only did they able to cut based upon the homestead exemption, for the first time in the history of the United States, property values actually went down during the Great Recession. So they got hit twice. Lower revenue by virtue of the homestead exemption and lower revenue by virtue of the home prices and the assessed values. Government survived. If I have a choice between government surviving and you surviving, I'm picking you every day of the week and twice on Sunday. Here's the problem. Here's the math behind this. When the original homestead exemption was put on the books, there was $25,000. The average home at that time in the state of Florida was $75,000. So it shielded about a third of your home from taxation. That number right now is closer to 9%. That's why everyone is feeling the pinch. There's a housing affordability issue here in the state of Florida, and a lot of it is perpetrated by government itself. When we show government how you can offer more affordable housing by cutting property taxes and offering relief, they're not interested. What they are interested in is keep on growing government, take more of your money and give it to nonprofits and subsidizing housing. That is a horrible way to do things, my opinion. Yes.
Thank you so much for being such a bold conservative and for that great speech that you just gave. As a fiscally conservative Republican, I can't think of any better idea than abolishing property taxes for homesteaded properties. But we see that even amongst Republicans, we're seeing backlash. How can we help you to make sure that this abolition of our property taxes gets through in 2026 and that we actually own our homes free and clear from government slavery? Thank you.
So the first thing we have to recognize is the numbers and the current situation. So the first thing is there's the governor nor I get to propose a constitutional amendment. That is the House and the Senate. They have to come together with agreement, and then it goes straight to the ballot. The governor does not have veto authority. So whatever the House and the Senate come up with is what we're going to have to vote on, okay? So that's the first challenge. The second challenge is getting past a lot of local governments and school boards because they're all freaking out because they want to know where their revenue is coming in. My challenge with that is that they are complaining that they want to keep revenue, which has been at an unsustainable pace. The way you can do this long term, and it may not be able to get done, the abolition of property taxes on homesteaded properties in 1 year. It may take 3 years, 5 years, we can phase into it, but it's a lofty goal, an aspirational goal that we should undertake that endeavor. If you just went, so the way we do our spending calculations, for anyone who wants to understand how we do this, how we found the $1.5 billion, is we go back to the 2019-2020 budgets and we index forward for inflation and population to find out where the budget should have reasonably been. And what we're finding out is that government is all the way over here. So on average, almost every government in the state of Florida, whether it's a city, county, school board, and I'm going to tell you right now, the school boards are probably some of the worst offenders when it comes to this stuff. Their budget should have increased in between 30 and 33%. What we are seeing is a lot of these budgets are increasing in between 60 to 120%. So if you roll it back just to the point of indexed for inflation and population, you will save the taxpayers billions and billions of dollars. So the number becomes smaller and smaller and smaller that you have to that you have to account for. So the first rule in trying to get rid of property taxes is the recognition that government doesn't need all the money in the first place. And if they do, they're lying. They're just trying to keep the fiefdom. This is the problem. This is what happened. In 2019, 2020, we had COVID. All this money came in from the federal government into local governments. Local governments took that extra money, created new programs, expanded bureaucracies, and started giving out a bunch of raises to middle management, right? But government knew that COVID money was going to end, but they still did it anyway. Then government got lucky because they realized that everyone wanted to move to the great state of Florida because of the leadership of Ron DeSantis and what we were able to do here. So we created a supply and demand imbalance where more people were moving here, driving up property values, driving up property taxes, and all of a sudden, when they thought they were going to lose all this revenue, not only did they not lose it, they had a windfall of more. So what did they do? They didn't learn. They went and expanded government even more, and now they're stuck. They're stuck where a lot of these people that they've hired over the last couple of years, I'm not sure they're going to have jobs. A lot of these egregious raises that they were giving out over the last 5 years may become pink slips. And it's just a sad state of affairs. They are outsourcing everything, hiring high-priced consultants, all that other stuff. So the first thing you have to do is recognize, to answer your question, recognize that they don't need all of that revenue, and then start looking at maybe gradually raising homestead exemption on a glide path over a certain amount of years to phase out property taxes. But all of that is going to be up to the legislature. I will tell you, as a taxpayer advocate, I'm starting off with the abolition of property taxes on homesteaded properties. That is my goal. If that doesn't work, then what I'm going to advocate for is the largest property tax cut that we can give that will pass 60% as a constitutional amendment. That I promise you. I'm going to work my butt off to make sure that we offer property tax relief.
Good afternoon. Going back to the misuse of the taxpayers' money, I'm wondering, are these elected officials who have actually done this, are they going to be legally held accountable for their actions at any point in time?
If they're breaking the law, they should, right? But here's the deal, and there's no way around this. I honestly don't think that Democrats or Republicans, elected officials, actually know what's going on with the granular details of their budget. Because elected officials here in the state of Florida have sunshine law. They can't talk to each other. They can't communicate. They can't validate anything. So the bureaucracy underneath them are saying, well, no, we need to do this or we're going to have to lay off all these fire and police. Oh, gee, let's vote for that tax increase. That's what's happening. I don't think they know exactly what's going on in the bureaucracy underneath them. So, but if they do, and then look, here's the bottom line. The bottom line is that we are elected with the consent of the governed. If the governed say that we've had it with the rise in property taxes and need to cut property taxes, they have to make a decision. You either listen to the consent of the governed or you get voted out of office.
Okay, Blaise, in keeping with your top 10 count up, your number one point. I think we have a desperate need in this state for somebody else to throw their hat into the race for the governorship. What are the odds that you might consider doing that?
0. I'm running for re-election as CFO. While I appreciate the sentiment, I'm all in doing what I can to make sure that I protect the taxpayers for the remainder of this term that I'm filled and 8 years after that for 9 years. So, but I'm going to tell you that I'm not going away. Florida's my home. I'm going to be a conservative pit bull for the people of Florida, regardless of where I'm at and what position. And who knows what the future holds.
Hi,
I'm so scared that you're filming right now.
I'm filming you.
I'm afraid of the question.
He's fantastic. No, you do mention a lot about the homesteading of your home. However, there are some of us that aren't allowed to homestead our own home that we live in.
Great question. I have a great answer for you.
And you cannot homestead an LLC or a trust. Can you help me with that,
Yes.
please?
So that's a great question. So we're always concerned with homesteaded properties, right? So that's where homesteaded properties, you're constraining the spending on homesteaded properties. You're limiting the income that comes on homesteaded properties. One of my big concerns is that government is always going to try to fill that void. And they're going to fill that void with second homes, with commercial, with industrial, with multifamily. Right now, you have a 3% cap on your homesteaded properties, but there's a 10% cap on non-homesteaded properties. So your non-homesteaded properties can go up more, a lot more, over 3 times more than what they can on your homesteaded property. So the answer is, I believe, is lower the amount that they can go up on non-homesteaded properties, which will then curb the amount of money that they bring in. So if we're protecting homesteaded properties, because we know government will always look for the money. They will always find a way to supplant that and replace that money. We need to protect the non-homesteaded properties also. Here's the deal. I actually think that we need spending restraint, constitutional or legislative spending constraint in the state of Florida. I actually think that we should pass something akin to a taxpayer bill of rights that says that no government can grow larger than inflation and population. And if you collect any more money, you got to give it back to the people. I think that's a way we should do this. You can post that on social media and get me a bunch of followers now. Because that was a damn good answer. And I wholeheartedly believe it. I wholeheartedly believe it.
Hi, Linda Sherman. I just want to thank you so much for your message today. I think it was so powerful, incredibly powerful. And as much as I'd love to talk about reducing or eliminating my property taxes, because I would, I really want to just reiterate on your basic message, your foundational message. I lived in Colorado. I'm going to make this really quick, but I lived there for 30 years. I moved there in 1994. It was a red state. I saw it go from red to purple to blue. And when COVID was here and it was locked down, it was like 4.5 years ago, I was completely traumatized. I got in my car with my little Chihuahua, sold my house, sold all my stuff, and came here to Florida because I'm from Louisville. So a lot of us Louisvillians have been coming to Florida, to Naples, for many, many years. So I'm so proud to be here, and I'm terrified, quite frankly, of all the things that you mentioned. So please, if you're coming down here from New York, if you're coming from another eastern state, please do not bring your politics here. Stay Republican, stand on your own if you have to, open your mouth. Please don't be fake. Support our president. Keep our values. Let's keep going where we're going, and let's stay America here in Florida, please.
Thank you for everything you're doing. I think that there should be a cap on what we pay public servants. I mean, I'm a public servant. I shouldn't be making more than the general public's making. Also, being on the school board, there's a lot of unfunded and funded mandates. Every time that they up in Tallahassee does a mandate, we have to fund it one way or the other. So I don't know if they could take a look at what they fund, mandates that we have to do,
So just so you know, when we do our spending calculations, we calculate for inflation, population, all the mandates, all that other stuff. And local governments are just blowing past the number obnoxiously. So I know you're an elected official, but the mandate things, the unfunded mandate thing doesn't play well with at least me, because I know there are things that government has to do and should do and rightly do that gets passed on to the taxpayers, but it doesn't mean that you have to pass on a tax. It means that you become more efficient. Are we good? Guys, thank you. I appreciate you guys. Thank you.